It is labeled as cozy fantasy with a highly organized main character and a highly irritating but charming love interest who need to work together to save her cat shelter and his magic shop. Is this not everything you could wish for? Hi, I will be on holiday for a large part of May. I'm going to Japan with my husband and friends, and that means two things. One, we have 2 long-haul flights between Europe and Asia with plenty of reading time. And 2, potentially more reading on public transport in Japan and when we are driving around. I say potentially because I'm not sure about the conditions and whether or not I will be too tired to read on the Shinkansen or something. Nevertheless, I want to curate an elite reading list for May, since I will have a lot more time to read than usual. Just for reference, I work a full-time job. I do most of my readings on the evenings and on the weekends, so on average I read about 3 to 4 books per month. For this list, I'm aiming for 6, just to have a good range of options, and all the books are going to be chosen based on very specific prompts. First up, I have the category A new release I cannot wait to pick up, and for that I will go with Agnes Aubert's Mystical Cat Shelter. Just the fact that Heather Fawcett is also the author of the Emily Wilde series would have been enough to get me interested in this book, but when I heard that it's set in 1920s Montreal, immediately bumped it up to the top of my TBR. It is labeled as cozy fantasy with a highly organized main character and a highly irritating but charming love interest who need to work together to save her cat shelter and his magic shop. Is this not everything you could wish for? If you watched my Romantasy tier ranking video, you'll know that I have a soft spot for male characters like Howl or Wendell from Emily Wilde, so this dynamic fits exactly to my taste. I think this will be the only physical book on this list. I will probably get to it before I go on holiday. Since I'm traveling to Japan, it's only fair to read a Japanese book in translation while I'm there. Honestly, some of the more hyped ones were really hit or miss for me personally. The Full Moon Coffee Shop was my favorite so far. The Convenience Store Woman was less emotionally impactful than I expected, and The Days at the Morisaki Bookshop didn't really leave a lasting impression at all. I plan to read Osamu Dazai at some point, but I need to prepare myself emotionally for that, I feel like. For now, I'm putting my faith in What You Are Looking For Is in the Library, where we go on a journey with a mysterious librarian named Sayuri Komachi and her unique ability to recommend exactly the book a person needs at that point in their lives. Seems like the book is structured around all the different people who visit her library because of their struggles, and so in that sense, it resembles the storytelling style of the Full Moon Coffee Shop. I'm expecting a heartwarming, emotional read, and hopefully a new Japanese fiction favorite in What You Are Looking For Is in the Library. Now, I'm very bad at continuing series, even when I like them, so I want to take the chance to read a sequel in May. I really wanted to choose King's Rising, which is the conclusion of the Captive Prince trilogy, and I'm very much looking forward to reading it, but I think I need to be at home, calm, relaxed, fully focused on it to fully enjoy it. So I went with something else and picked Emily Wilde's Compendium of Lost Tales, which is the last part of the trilogy. The first 2 books I adored. Having a main character who is very much the anti-hero type and just wants to be left alone to do her research was very refreshing. Not to mention her banter with Wendell was top tier, who is, by the way, described in the blurb as, and please jump over the next part if you don't want spoilers for the first 2 books, he is described as her former academic rival, now fiancé, the dashing and mercurial Wendell Bambabai. I love that. I fully expect to love the 3rd book just as much as I did the first 2, and it will probably be easy to read it on the plane when I don't have the brain capacity to read something completely new. Talking about reading something that's not totally new, I usually spice up my fantasy-heavy reading with a murder mystery here and there, so it's only fitting that I include The Last Devil to Die, which is book 4 in the Thursday Murder Club series. I'm buddy reading the series with my husband, and it's been so much fun. I never thought I would enjoy reading about a group of elderly people and their shenanigans, but the author achieves the perfect balance of character-focused narratives with multiple POVs, while still building up a twisty murder mystery in each book. I feel like book 3 was already getting darker both in the character development sense, with some foreshadowing, and in terms of dangerous situations, so I'm very curious where the story takes us in book 4. This next one might be the most ambitious book on this list, but I'm craving to read a story with an academic setting, with deadly trials, and for that, I'm choosing The Raven Scholar. This is a chunky one, with 600 plus pages, filled with political intrigue, cutthroat competition, a dash of murder investigation, and a romance subplot, if I'm not mistaken. I specifically try to avoid any spoilers of the story because I want to go into it unbiased, but it is very highly rated on Goodreads, standing at 4.4 stars out of 47k reviews or so, which is impressive. The book needs to deliver on the twisty competition plotline, complex character motivations, and high-stakes pacing in order for me to rate it highly, but I have high expectations for it. Okay, the last category is a little bit unfair because it narrows it down significantly, but hear me out. I read I Hope This Doesn't Find You and I Hope This Finds You by Ann Liang, and she quickly became my new favorite contemporary romance writer. And that's no small feat. I don't read contemporary romance very often, and even if I do, I'm very picky with it. So I want to pick up another contemporary fiction story from her, and currently I'm leaning towards I Could Give You the Moon, which is her latest release. What hooked me in her stories is how raw the emotional struggles of her main characters feel. Sometimes in contemporary fiction, it can read as over-dramatized, but I feel like she portrays it very realistically, which is why they land so well. In I Could Give You the Moon, we have our main characters who are essentially the opposite sides of the same coin. We have Chanel, who built up an image of herself to be liked and accepted, and we have Aries, who prefer to stick to the shadows. Now she has to learn to let him in order to save her parents' marriage and work together to find his missing brother. I'm so looking forward to the emotional development of the characters and of course also the romantic development. Fun fact, I'm recording the last part twice because I forget to press record, so here we go again. These are the 6 books that I plan to read in May, and while I'm on holiday. I will keep you updated how it goes. You will probably see some of these books pop up in my mid-year book freakout tag in June. If you're interested, check out my last video about tier ranking 30 popular romantasy books with some hidden gems and some hot takes. See you in my next video. Until then, take care. Bye!